What's up, guys? It's Coach Grant with First Down Training, and today we're going to be breaking down 3 things that wide receivers should not do. So we're going to be talking about 3 common mistakes that wide receivers make that don't get them separation, that will get them covered at the top of the route, and then obviously why they won't win certain routes. So I hope this video gives you guys some value. You learn some things that you shouldn't do at the top of the break and what you should do at the top of the break to always make sure that you're maximizing that separation that you get, okay? But also, fellas, wide receivers, if you're looking for more like premium, advanced content, stuff that's going to take you to that next level, check out that very first link in the description for our ultimate wide receiver training package. What's in this package is you have a step-by-step guide with everything wide receiver that you could refer back to. So it's all the specific aspects of wide receiver, what we teach, the specific details, all in one place in a step-by-step guide. And then you get access to a 1-month-long gym training program for wide receivers specifically. So check out that very first link in the description, fellas, for our ultimate wide receiver training package. Hope we get you guys on that soon. Let's get started. So first route we're going to be talking about here is this comeback route. Main thing I want to talk to you about is dead hands at the top of the break, right? So somebody told me the other day that if you have dead hands at the top of the route where your hands just shoot down to your side, that's a good thing to do because it stops you, right? And it stops your feet. Hell yeah, it stops your feet. For sure stops your feet. But if you have slow hands, your feet are going to be slow. That's just a fact. When you're running a 40-yard dash, you don't run with your hands down by your side. The whole goal is to create energy at the top of the break and then be able to accelerate, right? So I'm not saying at the break point I want you to beat the drum and have fast hands. But you can't just let your hands go dead and stop your hands, because watch what happens right here. You see how there's just this little delay where he's stuck right here. And this DB is getting out of this thing as fast as possible. When your hands shoot down like that and your hands aren't moving, you ain't getting out of that break. You shouldn't really even think about your hands other than the fact that after you break, you should be pumping your arms and driving back down to this ball. You got to make sure that you're ripping your arms, because your arms ripping is what gets you out of this break, right? When you run a speed out and you're breaking off a one cut, you're ripping those arms to be able to get your hips back down on that 90-degree angle. But so many receivers struggle with this. So many receivers drop their hands at the top of this break and they let it shoot down, and then they have no acceleration out of the route. There's 3 phases. You got to have the stem, you got to have the break point, you got to have the acceleration. If your hands go dead on the break point, then your feet are going to go dead. That's just a fact. That's why people even taught the whole beat the drum thing in the first place. Right here, people taught that beat the drum because when you have fast hands, you're going to have fast feet. And that's not wrong. It takes too much time. So I'm not saying you want to be over-exaggerating with your hands. I'm saying you don't want them to go dead because you don't want your feet to go dead. Because when your feet go dead, you're going to have to start, stop, and then start again. You're not creating energy at the top of the break, right? I want to make sure that I create energy. I want to make sure that I drop, I'm creating energy, and my hands stay natural. You want to keep your arms natural. You don't want to even think about what they're doing at the top of the break. If you're running your hands in and you drop your hips, just keep your arms running, just as if you're running a 40-yard dash. You can't stop your hands, because when you stop your hands, your feet go dead. Feet go dead, the route is dead, because you see how fast this DB is able to break on this. If he doesn't slip, I'm going to be just dead honest with you, it's probably 6 going the other way if this DB doesn't slip. That's what the importance of having dead feet at the top of this thing, not having dead feet at the top of this thing, and actually having some activity with my arms so I could accelerate out and win the race, because the whole goal is to get to here and beat the DB right there. And if that DB don't slip, we ain't beating him there, and he's all over this thing because of how much time I took at the top of the break because my hands didn't go. My hands went dead. So we got to make sure that I rip my arms out of there, I keep my arms natural at the break point, and then I accelerate to run out of the ball. I'm concerned with creating energy at the top of the break, not stopping my feet and then starting again, because that kills all acceleration. That kills the explosion that you're trying to make at the top of the break, okay? Let's watch this thing again, full speed one more time. This, honestly, it's not a horrible route, and I think if he does run those hands and he doesn't stop those hands and get his feet dead, we're able to get out of this thing a little bit faster, okay? So now the second thing that you don't want to do as a wide receiver is an indicator. So we're going to be talking about an indicator. This is a smooth break here from Waddle, right? And let's talk about his hands 1 second real quick. Watch his hands. You see how his arms move? His arms don't go dead, do they, right? They don't just stop. He keeps those hands moving because that's how you keep those arms natural, and then you use that explosion at the top of the break to accelerate you out. So there's a perfect example of what to do with your upper half. Now let's talk about what he did a little bit wrong with his pad level and with his speed. So when you're about to get into a break, you got to be able to keep this pad level. You cannot change that pad level, because the second you change that pad level, or the second you start to slow down, maybe prepare for the break, DB's sitting on this thing, especially a DB who's going to be able to play at the next level, right? A shitty DB ain't going to really make a difference, right? And that's not what we're trying to prepare you for. We're trying to prepare you for a DB who's actually got some skill to him, who actually knows how to read, who actually has some knowledge, right? And I know a lot of DBs watch these videos because you guys tell me that, and that's the smartest thing they can do, because they're looking for the things that wide receivers do. And so you got to understand that DB position, those guys are looking for any little thing, man. They're looking for any little detail that you guys give. So you see when Waddle goes off here, you see how he starts to raise that chest up. Watch where his chest is in a perfect spot, and then he starts to raise it up and starts to lean lean back and those arms start chopping down, the feet start chopping down. When you're not in stride, dude, that DB ain't gonna turn and run. When you start slowing myself down, I don't care how fast you are. Waddle's a fast dude. He's one of the fastest guys in the league. And when he starts to slow down like that top of the break, DBs are fast guys, man. A 4.2 and a 4.4 really ain't that much big of a difference. So if he gets a good jump on us and he gets a head start on the break because I give an indicator with my pad level, with how I'm chopping my feet, then he's breaking on this thing all day long. I don't have any separation, right? So that's what we got to make sure that we don't do going into the top of the break. I don't want to give an indicator and start to slow down and chop my feet, then drop down. And trust me, it's a lot easier to break, and it's a lot easier to get into a low explosive position like this when I slow myself down, because that's just, you're not going as fast. But when you're going full speed, it's very difficult to get to here. And that's why those guys who are able to do that get a ton of separation, like Jerry Jeudy. Jerry Jeudy, when you watch him break, it is very rare that he gets out of breaks in 3 steps, right? But he's probably one of the best route runners in the game because of how well he's able to sell vertical. He has no indicators on his route, and he's sudden. Go watch old Jerry Rice film, right? I have a couple videos on my page as well. You can watch how he runs routes. It's not about the steps, man. It's about eliminating time, but also it's about that stem, that indicator. Can I go full speed into a break, be able to drop and get out of it efficiently? And that's what a DB can't prepare for. He can't prepare for the guy who gives no indicator on the route, is able to change direction, bam, just right now. He can't prepare for that, and that's how we get separation. No matter what the route is, whether it's a curl, whether it's a speed out, whether it's a post, whether it's a corner, whatever it might be. Let's watch the thing again, full speed. So got to make sure, number 2 thing that you can't do, give an indicator with your pad level, start chopping your feet, start stopping that arm drive. Everything looks the same from point A to point B, right? So just make sure I don't raise up. I'm able to drop and accelerate back to that ball. So now, I'm going to look at this route from KJ Hill. Posted this a little while back, then posted on my Instagram page. And a lot of people had something to say about this route, like that, because I asked, what do you guys think he did wrong here? Some of you might have seen it, some of you might not have. But the thing that he did wrong, and this is what a lot of people said, is that he didn't give himself, he wasn't close enough to the DB, right? And that's what we're going to mainly focus on. So anytime you guys take an inside breaking route with, an outside breaking route with an inside release, you got to be able to do this. So even if it's the same thing, like let's say you got to run a dig with an outside release and you got to slip back underneath, you guys can't run away from this guy, right? And so and maybe this is just because the DB played it super well. Maybe that's just kind of how it worked out. DB played this thing pretty good. But I think that a lot of people said that, oh, this was wrong because he took an inside release on an outside breaking route. And it really kind of shows you how many people have been coached wrong, because you can absolutely 100% do that. Because treat this like this, and this is what he does well. If I got a DB who's outside shade and he's taking away the outside, why would I force an outside release? Let this guy, because let me tell you this, the people who tell you that you only can take an outside release on an outside breaking route have never played quarterback and don't understand how route running works, right? And don't understand how spacing of the play works. They're career receiver guys who don't understand what a quarterback's looking for, don't understand the whole play type as a concept. They just know that, just gonna take the outside release because it's easier, and then you're going to have a yard from the sideline. If you guys force the outside release and this DB's outside shade, all he's going to do is just get hands on you, wall you, and when you break to that out route, you're going to have maybe a yard, maybe a half a yard from the sideline. Quarterback ain't giving you the ball, and you're going to probably get pulled out of the game because you can't get any separation, and you could screw up the spacing of another route, right? So you got to be able to run an outside breaking route from an inside release. You got to be able to run an inside breaking route from an outside release. Now, when we do this, though, and this is the thing that you don't want to do, you don't want to kind of run away from this guy. You see how much space he has from this DB? I think when we come off of this, to really make sure that I sell vertical, I'm like hip to hip with this guy. I'm getting my shoulder and hip right by him. So if this DB was a little bit closer when I make that break point at the top, what could I do? I could swap by, because again, if you just try to break back underneath like this and this DB's far and he's got some space from you, you're going to be running right into him. But now if Hill was a little bit closer and he swapped by on the back of this DB's hip or the back of this DB's shoulder, then I was going to be able to rip underneath and I could be able to get some separation, and I won't have to come back like 5 yards, almost like a comeback, right? And not really get as much space. So that's the main key. That's the third thing that you can't do. And you guys have to take that opposite release of where the route is breaking. I got to make sure that I'm selling vertical enough, hip to hip with this guy, and I'm able to swat him by and going to be physical at the top of the route, because that's how you got to run this thing, okay? So let's watch the thing full speed one more time. Great job by Hill giving this move, taking the inside release, but just got to make sure that we're close so I could swat him by and I could be physical at the top of the break. All right, guys, I really want to thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. If you guys have any questions at all, please feel free to leave those in the comments below. I'll get back to you as soon as possible. And again, fellas, ultimate wide receiver receiver training package in the description below. Very first link. It's a full 1-month-long gym training program with specific sets, reps, rest days, all the above for wide receivers specifically. And what we have is a step-by-step guide, everything about the wide receiver position broken down into specific categories, all in one place for you. Hope we get you guys on that soon, fellas. Very first link in the description. I'll see you guys next time.